Thank you so much for joining us here on Joy News Prime. Now let's begin from Parliament, where the minority is warning government against unbridled election year expenditure, which they say will plunge the country into further chaos. Now addressing MPs at the opening ceremony of the post-budget workshop in Parliament, Minority Leader Dr. Kufuor urged the Finance Minister to spend only when there's a dedicated source of funding, insisting his side will keep government on its toes to stay within its means.
First, having regard to the state of our economy, bruised by unbridled spending over the past years by government and aided by a willing and overzealous central bank. Our economy is presently under life support, and Parliament has not been exempted from the blame by the public and experts. In 2024 is an election year, and it is often the case that no one needs to be reminded that fiscal discipline is often placed at the back burner in the quest for electoral fortunes. Mr. Speaker, overspending is often the order of the day in an election year. To satisfy unplanned campaign promises, projects are hurriedly commenced without dedicated funding sources. Organized labor is assured of improved condition of service without regard to its impact on wage bill, among others. Mr. Speaker, with the support of our resource persons, dissect this budget into the minutest of detail, particularly the tables and appendices, and make sure that all the allocations are prudent and good purpose.
Now, his colleague, Majority Leader Oseche Mensah-Mbozo, urged MPs to think about the people they represent when making decisions about the budget just presented to the House.
And a very important component of Parliament's power of the purse is to ensure that the budget addresses the needs of women and men equitably and is supportive of the vulnerable groups in society. Business analyze budget policy in order to make investment choices that lead to growth and employment. As citizens, we also depend on the state to provide the necessary services and infrastructure. In this House, we have often expressed that we all need roads, schools, health facilities, and all those depend on the way government raises revenues and allocates monies raised to meet various competing demands. As representatives of the people, how do we ensure that social protection programs are adequately and sufficiently funded? To what extent are these programs impacting lives and livelihoods? What implementation challenges do we need to address to ensure the success of these programs? I believe that these issues will be of concern to us as we examine the budget. It is our efforts to revamp the economy. In our efforts to revamp the economy, there is a need to understand the importance of gender equality and economic growth.
Meanwhile, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is rallying the Speaker and MPs to expeditiously approve the budget he presented to the House last Wednesday.
On the provision of roads, including the clearance of road arrears in this budget, this government wants to demonstrate our resolve to build a robust infrastructure network. On statutory funds, we have budgeted for arrears clearance and should support this and therefore ensure that we catch up on our DACF, SNIT, NHIS, GET Fund, and IPEP arrears. Mr. Speaker, we are therefore calling on you to support us once again, like you have done in the past, to pass the proposed measures in the 2024 budget and on time. Mr. Speaker, there's a time and a season to tear and a time to mend. There's a time for war and a time for peace, and a time to scatter and a time to gather. Mr. Speaker, this is a time to gather, this is a time to mend, and it's also a time for peace.
But the Speaker says this is a very crucial budget and the process will not be rushed.
It's our duty to strive to improve upon the welfare of our people. And even though we see this as the usual business of Parliament, this time around it's more critical than before. This budget is a critical budget. And I want us to take time, because leadership have discussed with me, and we'll have enough time for you to deliberate on the budget. We are therefore expecting that you will not come and be making just political statements, not propaganda, but please listen to the voices of our people and do a critical analysis of the budget.
Still on the budget, the government has given a firm assurance that the 2024 budget will help stabilize the economy and improve the livelihood of Ghanaians in the coming month. Now, the government has come under serious criticism after Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta delivered the 2024 budget statement on Wednesday, which many say the budget is not in touch with current happenings in the country. Now, listen to Chief Executive Officer of Daylight Finance, Ken Thompson, who has taken a swipe at the 2024 budget, describing it as deceitful. He spoke on Newsfile.
I felt cheated, used, and I thought that what Fred had done was immoral. And that is exactly how I feel about the Ghana government. I feel cheated, I feel used, and I find that what they have done is immoral. Think about it. The government of Ghana came to us and said that, we're unable to pay our debts. So we're going to, there's going to be some debt exchange program where literally the money is gone. The money up there is gone. I have friends who are doing projects that they've had to cancel. And then the same, I'm suffering. I've got the one I'm talking about, his children he has had to change his children's school. He sold his house. And then I have a budget where all the budget is about the government and what they want to do. That's the same Fred in business class. I feel cheated. I feel it's immoral. I feel used. What is it there? What is in there for the common man? What's in there for the watch seller? What's there for the kinky seller? What's there for the mechanic? Meanwhile, cost of living is high and there are no jobs. Economic prosperity is not about numbers. Economic prosperity is not about GDP. It's not about the size of your car, whether you're 2 trillion, 4 trillion. It's not whether, you have 10. No. Economic prosperity is about the value of the cedi in your pocket. And as we sit now, the value of the cedi in your pocket is gone. Meanwhile, the government has made no sacrifices. We have made all those sacrifices. Why? Job for the boys. They're still doing job for the boys. Planting for food and jobs is failed. They're still putting money there. So what are we getting? Cost of living is high. Cost of doing business is high. Interest rates are high. Our capitals have been eroded through the currency depreciation. So what have we got out of it?
But Deputy Minister of Energy Andrew Ejapa-Mensah has assured that the 2024 budget will help stabilize the economy and improve the livelihood of Ghanaians in the coming month. He has been speaking in an interview with Joy News editor George Uyafe.
Clearly, the pathways to restoring our economy is clear. We've laid a solid foundation as a result of the IMF program. We definitely are not out of the woods yet, but if you look at primary balance, you look at debt to GDP ratio, you look at expenditure, you look at revenue performance, all the indicators are looking in the right direction. Consistent with what we did prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, which was a key determinant in our economic fortunes post that period. And I'm particularly excited that the Finance Minister has laid a clear path for growth in the 2024 budget. We'll look to support him to implement it successfully so that the good people of this country who have absolute faith in our ability to work to transform their lot will give us the mandate to continue to improve the fortunes of this country for the benefit of all of us.
Some will ask, you're also a senior minister in this government. What happened to the taxes? Rather, we saw a tax release being pushed. Was government forced to succumb to pressure to withdraw those tax measures?
Of course, there were some new efficiency measures that have been rolled out. Because if you look at the presentation, the finance minister indicated that we're looking to raise some 0.9% of GDP by way of revenue additional. How to do that is to really look at the existing tax regime and to input some efficiency measures that then allows you to raise more revenue. Also, if you look at the expenditure pattern over the past year, clearly government has cut expenditure significantly to meet the targets that it had set. Okay, and so clearly those of the Ghanaians who know the NPP administration, look, when we came into government in 2017, yes, we're under an IMF program, but at the time, all the criteria benchmark that had been set by the NDC government, none of it had been met. Okay, hence the need for us to extend the program by a year and work hard to achieve significant benchmarks that then led to our successful completion of the program. If you look at the first review of the PCPEC, clearly all the qualitative and quantitative criteria, the reform criteria has substantially been met, such that we've reached staff level agreement. We are expecting that when the board meets sometime before the end of this month, they will approve the first review and disburse the funds.
The board is supposed to meet on November 22nd.
Yes.
What do you have? The minister spoke about the bilateral creditor.
Yes,
Are you almost through in getting that MOU?
It's not an event. It's an ongoing process. Okay. My understanding is that the IMF's expectation is that we had commenced the discussions with them, and it's obvious to everybody that that conversation has started.
Let's take you to Adana, where Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy, Samuel Atacha, has issued a stern warning to the youth of Adana, who he says have been engaging in clashes with staff of Electrochem Ghana Limited over the salt mining concession at the Songo Lagoon. Mr. Atacha described these recurring clashes as acts of lawlessness and emphasized that such actions could impede the country's efforts to fully benefit from the natural resource. He made a statement when he led members of the Select Committee on a fact-finding mission to Electrochem production site at Sege in the Adan West district of the Greater Accra region. There's more in the following report.
Years of neglect and mismanagement have led to the drying up of over 28,000 hectares of the Ada Songo Lagoon. However, with the installation of 3 axial vertical pumps at the cost of $17 million, Electrochem Ghana Limited has successfully restored a significant portion of the lagoon for sustained commercial salt mining. Emmanuel Kusi, the mechanical engineer, provided insight into the process.
This machine was brought from Spain, from ETEC Group. It's an axial vertical pump having a capacity of 6.2 million liters per hour. It's a diesel engine. So if you multiply the 3 by the 6.2, you have 18 plus. That's what we use when we open the intake. That's what we use to fill the Songo. One engine consumes 200 liters per 8 hours that we pump.
Okay, so you have how many machines here?
3. The main objective is for the Songo not to dry up.
In addition to this, Electrochem Ghana Limited has established these community ponds for local salt miners along the lagoon. Despite these efforts, some residents still have specific demands.
Our demand is we want Electrochem Ghana Limited to only remain as Songo Salt. Aside that, whatever he would do, we are not going to agree.
But Chief Operating Officer of Electrochem Ghana Limited, Bernard Tete, explains why meeting these demands may not be feasible.
Technically, and with the way of operations, in that we want to produce proper quality salt, it's impossible to forgo the lagoon and then say that you operate in where Old Songo used to operate, in that 1,000-acre concession, because to produce proper salt, you need brine from the sea to travel a certain distance.
Following the tour of Electrochen's production site, Chairman of Parliament's Select Committee on Mines and Energy, Samuel Atachia, cautioned those he believes are plotting to undermine the operations of Electrochem Ghana Limited.
My pain is hearing that, there are some people who believe that if you don't undermine this enterprise with our personal interest, we won't be happy. It also means that even if we should just put together a very vile conspiracy and commit some crimes and even kill somebody, that's their pleasure. We cannot have that lawlessness undermining an undertaking that can bless the entire country. So I'm using this opportunity to sound a note of caution to those who believe that this whole Ada traditional area should not improve. When you have an investor who wants to improve the lot of the people, when they will seed some of the production lines for you, so go produce and even create a ready market, then they buy it off you, and there's somebody who believes that this undertaking, should be undermined, that lawlessness will have to cease. And this is one of the things I, as the chairman of the committee, will take it up at the highest level, that this country should not have people who want to undermine progress. It's anti-progress to see a company, to undermine a company that is giving interest-free loans to the indigenous.
A committee member, Muntaka Mubarak Mohammed, emphasized that addressing the concerns of stakeholders is equally crucial for the state interest to prevail.
When you're talking about industrializing, you're not talking about small scales, you're talking about large scales. And for us and the community that are all affected, we need to look at how they can benefit from the whole scale. But if you say, do it on small scale or do it only 1 acre, you are not talking industrial. But ours is to ensure that there's equity. That is a role as parliamentarians that we will have to play to ensure that there's this middle ground. But this notion that, no, don't industrialize, just do it on small scale is absolutely wrong.
With a growing demand of salt on the continent, Electrochem has invested over $88 million so far, with the sole objective of generating the necessary forex exchange for the state.
Reporting from Songo, here in the Adan West District, my name is Carlos Caloni for Joy News. You're still watching Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Caloni. We'll take a short break. We'll return with more. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, young technical and vocational education and trainees have been entreated to build resilience in their business to effectively manage change and find solutions to new challenges presented by the changing world. According to founder and chief executive officer of the DCG Group and Alio Africa, Jigbodi Kweku Dosu, resilience is needed in businesses to recover critical functionality and thrive in altered circumstances. She was speaking at the 2023 graduation ceremony of the Design and Technology Institute.
Some 217 learners graduated after pursuing 8 months of certificate programs in precision welding and fabrication, design innovation, and entrepreneurship. According to Jigbodi Dosu, these young entrepreneurs should work on branding.
The first group I want to speak to here is the employers. For those to whom the graduates will come and look for work. The research now states that out of 100% that makes up corporate success, only 15% is attributed to what we call the IQ, that is our technical competence. Only 15% is attributed. Why is that? Because the human being is made up of certain skills. And let me give you practical examples. And I know a lot of you have sat in here, a lot of you here hear it all the time. I sit on a lot of interviews, whether it's be at the leadership level or at the entry level. And one thing I always hear when we finish and we are deliberating is, there's something missing. I can't put my finger on it. There's something missing. They don't have something. We don't want to take care. We don't want to take it. Something is missing. And they don't put their finger on it. But if you look at people who have traveled to the West and come back, or people who come from other places and try and find out that something, why are they hired? That something is emotional intelligence which cannot be spoken.
This is the 4th graduation ceremony for learners who have successfully completed their program at the Design and Technology Institute.
Now, members of Parliament, MPP stalwart, and some political figures have paid their last respects to the late former First Lady, Theresa Kufuor, eulogizing her as one of the best First Ladies in the Fourth Republic. Now, the late wife of ex-President John Agyekum Kufuor died at age 88 at a home on Sunday, October 1. My colleague Nana Boachi-Yadom interacted with some high-profile figures who thronged the Heroes Park today in Kumasi during the final funeral rites.
It has been a day of mourning here at the Kumasi Heroes Park as His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, alongside his wife, Her Excellency, the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, and the Vice President, His Excellency, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, joined the former President of the Republic, John Agyekum Kufuor, to mourn the former First Lady, Mrs. Theresa Kufuor. Today, several dignitaries have joined the family of the former President John Agyekum Kufuor to mourn the death of his beloved wife, Mrs. Theresa Kufuor. Some members of Parliament, some ministers of state, and some other high-profile political figures have been sharing the experience with Mrs. Theresa Kufuor with us.
Well, you've never met a lady who is so humble and very deep in her approach to life, and her kindness knows no bounds.
Honorable, share some memorable experience you had with Mrs. Theresa Kufuor with us.
I think her place in history is very well known. Free compulsory universal basic education, our school feeding program, maternal health care. These are things that she championed, and I believe she has left a great legacy for our nation.
Well, she was a mother, not only to her family, both nuclear and extended family. She was a mother to us in the New Patriotic Party. She was a mother to the nation Ghana also.
Mama Theresa, she's a mother of all mothers. We all sort of visit her, and she will give you good advice. At least I would call her Mami Bakupe.
Share some memorable moments you had with Mrs. Theresa Kufuor with us.
I know she was a very kind woman, very well-mannered, well-cultured woman, and we're all here to commensurate with the family. She had the qualities of the mother of this country, and she did a lot for women and children.
I think that the first ladies who have succeeded by and large have held their own. There's absolutely no two ways about that. And I think our current first lady is equally discharging her responsibilities and duties with so much elegance and dignity. And you saw that when she read the state's tributes in honor of Mrs. Theresa Kufuor. She was a woman of substance, very affable. I saw her as my mom because she treated me as such. You know, I was a municipal chief executive during President Kufuor's tenure, and how she received us anytime we were around was highly remarkable.
She was my mom. I had just come from London, a young man. She took me in. I served President Kufuor, and she was my backer.
I think that we have our own version of Mother Theresa, a very kind, loving woman. When she served as the First Lady, we saw the impact that she made through the Madam Theresa charity that she was leading across the country. So it's quite a sad moment for all of us.
So at the end of the final funeral rites of the former First Lady of the Republic of Ghana, Mrs. Theresa Kufuor, Mampo Hini and the Kumawini represented the Asante Hini, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. The leader and founder of Movement for Change, Alan Kojo Chematin, also joined several other dignitaries to mourn with the former President John Agyekum Kufuor. From the Kumasi Heroes Park, my name is Nana Boachi-Yadom.
I believe we all have fond memories of the former First Lady. And that's it for Joy News Prime this evening. You can log on to myjoyonline.com for more stories. My name is Carlos Caloni. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening.